Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. And of course, I am your host, Marty Jalove. We come at you every single Monday night at 7 o'clock to talk about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. If you miss any part of this episode, you can always tune in later in the week to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, anywhere you listen to podcasts. As you know, every week at 7 o'clock, I am on a quest to bring you some of the industry best. And today is my super special guest. It's half of the team of Nate and Luke. It's the tall one. It is Nate. What are you on over there? You're number 4. Say hello there, Nate.
Well, hello there, Nate.
Fantastic.
That's funny every time.
It never gets old. It never gets old.
Marty, I got to say, I just look forward every month to coming on the show. So I really appreciate you having me here.
Oh, I could not imagine. I'd be talking to myself every second Monday of the month.
Oh, and we know you've got enough words for both of us, and yet you choose to share it with me.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Hey, so do you notice, Nate, I see you got the proper shirt on.
I do.
You notice this is the wrong shirt.
Yeah.
You
and it's okay. You know, I mean, it's all right. I wore my pink hat. We're still dialing it in. We're still bacon. We're still pigs. We're getting it done. You know, that's right.
We're what did the one guy call it? Name brothers. Right?
Yes, so name brothers.
We're the brothers of the pink.
Brothers of the pink. That's
like
it.
All right. So you know what? I got to tell you. You know why I'm not wearing it? I left the shirt at the Abbey Resort.
Get out of here.
In the closet, and I have been struggling with them for a week to get it back. So I'm announcing it on the radio. If anyone listens to or knows anyone who works at the Abbey Resort, there was a very special shirt that was left there last week. All right, it is called. It's marked up with the Bacon Bits Radio. You're going to see it if you're watching YouTube. You can see it. That's the one Nate is wearing. It's a beautiful shirt. Only 3 made in the world.
It's one of 3 kinds, I guess.
Exactly. Whatever. However you say it.
You know, Marty. I mean,
yeah,
I do know that I owe a favor to a guy who's helping me build a deck in my front yard, and so if they find it, you know, I'd run and get it.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. You're a sweetheart.
Yeah,
I was really hoping, like the one day that I came over to your house, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's here," and then I'd zip over there. No problem.
Right.
I'm willing to do that.
I'm trying to get your daughter out to the karaoke night with me over at the place that we were, which is pretty close.
Foley's.
It was Lake Geneva, I think.
All right.
Lake Geneva adjacent.
Or Fontana. Or,
one of those.
Yeah. Great little bar.
Yeah. Okay. Terrific time we had.
So if you're ever around the Lake Geneva area,
stop by the Abbey, get Marty's shirt, then go to Foley's for karaoke.
That's it. Tremendous evening there.
Yeah.
All right. So today, I was about to call you Dale.
Yeah.
So today, Dale, we're going to be talking about Nate. All right, so Nate, we're going to be talking about Dale Carnegie today.
The one and only.
The one and only. So let me ask you, before you read the book, the famous book, Legends of Sales, before you read that, and that's on page, what would you say?
Oh, page 49, Perfect. Dale Carnegie.
There you go. Before you read that, had you ever heard of Dale Carnegie?
You know, I actually had. My mother had talked to me when I was much younger and much less charismatic.
Gotcha. I can't believe that.
And it was there. It was a tough time.
Right,
you know, the teenage years weren't great to Nate, but she suggested that I read Dale's book,
which
how
was
to make and
how to win friends.
Win friends and influence others. Yeah. I didn't read it, but I figured I'd do it on my own. However,
yes,
it was interesting to just kind of dive into that a little bit in your chapter. You just mentioned that he had written it, but it was really cool, and I as we've gone through this series, I've been seeing a lot of parallels, and we can get into that a little bit later. But it's just another really great example of the key to success in sales is making people feel important.
Yes. Remember that? That's go zip back to the Mary Kay episode.
You couldn't have said it better myself.
When she said, "Wear this," everyone you meet is wearing that sign that says "Make me feel important."
I was actually dealing with one of my young supervisors the other day, and we were talking through just kind of some troubles he was having with his team. And I just said, you got to really think about that. And you really got to think about that thing. Like, that has stuck with me for the longest time. The make or deal with everyone as if they have a sign on them that says, make me feel important.
Perfect.
And if you can dial in on that, it's the key to success. It really is.
I agree with you. And you know, what's funny is the more I read and reread excerpts, I didn't reread the entire book from Dale Carnegie, but I reread excerpts of it, and then doing the write-up, digging into it more, you sit here going, there's nothing strange, nothing incredibly different that he's writing. It's just all real common sense. But unfortunately, we need is occasionally to be reminded of that. And we suddenly sit there and hit ourselves in the head. Yeah, why am I spending all this time talking about myself?
Right.
When the customer doesn't really care.
They don't.
No,
they don't. They really don't. You got to give just enough so they can feel that connection.
Yep.
But you still have to center it around them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can give enough information to be a credible source worth talking to, but you're right. Then we've got to turn this around and get them talking. And everyone loves talking about themselves.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah, exactly. So we just have to step back a little bit and realize that other people, especially in a sales transaction, the other people are usually waiting for a chance to talk. Okay?
Right.
So, so with this, this is a number. I think it's number 7 we've been going through, right?
Yeah.
7 or 8. What we
8. It's August.
It's August, right? So this is the 8th one. So we've been covering a lot of different people, including Seth Godin, Mary Kay, obviously. And here we go. As soon as I have this list in
Carl Jung.
Carl Jung, the guy who fought Rocky.
Right, that's right.
That's the guy. Yeah. Carl Jung. I'm thinking Carl. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who was the guy who fought Rocky? That was Carl Weathers.
Yeah. The very same.
Yeah, exactly. They were probably brothers. They have the same first name. Okay, so as you know, what we do all the time is we apply a little bit bacon to the conversation, because everything bacon touches makes it just a little bit better, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so, of course, when we're talking about famous people like Dale Carnegie and we're applying the bacon, we're not talking about the bacon for chewing.
Oh, no, Marty. We're talking about the bacon for doing.
That's it. Oh, I got the camera turned on you just in time. That's fantastic.
Perfect.
Well done. So today what we're going to do is this. And it's kind of funny. I read through this and you could almost apply this to almost everyone in the book. Just like you said, there's great parallels in all these people. There's about 40 people in the book that we're going to be slowly going over. We're going to have years of this. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So the B in today's bacon is build trust first. Okay. This is this whole idea of I can't just be talking. I can't always just be listening to them. I have to build some trust. We have to do something so that they start trusting in me. All right. A is going to be adapt to others. All right. And we're going to get into that. C is going to be communicate with empathy. O is offer value, obviously. And N, nurture relationships. It really comes down to it. When you think about that, just build trust first, adapt to others, communicate with empathy, offer value, nurture relationships. You could slap on almost everyone we talked about with those same categories, and would still be a great show. So what I want to do is dig right into this. And I also took some notes. I did little scribblings from the book, how to influence people, or how to make friends and influence people.
Right.
All right. Some really interesting stuff. So we're going to dig into this, but let's just jump right in with this build trust first. All right. It's this idea that in order for us to even have a conversation, whether I'm selling you a product, whether I am writing an email to you, whether I'm writing an advertisement that you're going to read about my company, about the product or service I'm offering, whether you're just talking to a spouse, an employee, having a casual conversation, there's got to be a certain amount of trust there so that we can actually communicate, as opposed to just throwing words at each other, right? And so think about it. Let's go from more your point as a supervisor, your people who answer to you. Can you imagine if they just didn't trust you? How awful life would be, right?
It's incredibly difficult. And I've been in those situations. I've been where I'm having a conversation, and be it one of my team members either doesn't see the vision or doesn't understand the vision, or just has, their chip on their shoulder regarding something else. And what I found is it to your point, it's really building that connection. I had one more difficult team member than the others. And I found that the mornings that I took just 5-10 minutes out of my morning, right, and made some casual small talk first thing in the day, their performance was almost doubly better throughout the course of the day. And it's because that little bit of trust, that little bit of connection, they're like, okay, Nate took time out of his day because they know that I'm busy and I'm usually a pretty no-nonsense guy.
Sure.
And that little bit of effort that I put in. So I had to start making that my routine, where I'd be in first thing in the morning. I'm like, man, I don't want to talk to anybody. I've got my to-do list and I want to get going.
Right.
But I found that if I took that little bit of time just to make a casual conversation about what they did the night before, their weekend, something like that, their performance was incredibly better.
I'll
And
bet
so
you.
it's just
Sure.
like, and it was because just there was a little bit of trust, that little bit of connection. I made them feel important,
Right.
and they wanted to do a better job for me because of it.
Love that. And you know what? It's interesting. You think about this is because of the position you're in as a supervisor, you've got to reach out to those people. You've got to talk to them on a regular basis. And I love the fact that you're saying, I like going out to them every day, like bumping into them, purposely bumping into them, having the small chat with them in the morning, reminding them that you're there, showing some interest in what they want to talk about. And that's important because you're a leader. What we don't want is every single employee doing that,
Right.
unless it's important for them to work as part of a team.
Right.
Some of that's important. They got to communicate, find out where their team members are mentally, emotionally, etc. So it's really important. And the higher you go up the ladder, I think the more important it is that you have those communications, those little brief sessions with as many of the other leaders, supervisors, the team members, etc. The higher up the level ladder you are, more communication is necessary.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Because it's so easy for the idea, especially on the lower levels, for them to think like, upper management's just up there. They're just making decisions. I don't really know what they're doing.
they don't
all
even know
day.
I'm here.
Right. Yeah, I'm not important. So it's really just selling yourself, selling that you care, and selling yourself to them helps them to feel wanted and want to perform for you.
Sure. And you know that everyone has had that first job that you're think you're doing the right job. You're working at it. You occasionally get a chance to talk to your supervisor, your manager, etc. But then when someone above them walks by and like knows your name, walks up to you, and you're suddenly like, oh my God, they know who I am. I'm doing something that's important, that's recognized in the company. It's an adrenaline rush.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what makes it so important to do that. Now, here's a little kind of a quote, pseudo quote from Carnegie. And this was, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can do in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love the sound of that. Is just, it makes so much sense. Is you're going to be more interested in me if I just keep asking you more and more questions.
Right.
All right. And I want to dig into what you do, as opposed to us meeting and I'm just going to tell you all of the highlights, the accolades of me. You're going to be like, yeah, gotcha. You're a wonderful guy. Can we move on?
Right.
Right. So it's important that first thing is building trust is all about working with these people, or working with the people, and just communicating, opening up, becoming a really good listener, and showing genuine interest in what they say.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is a tough thing, because I think over time what people have done is they go, yeah, I'm supposed to listen. Go ahead. And they ask the series of the same questions. So how's the wife and kids? And then you're like, well, I'm not married,
Right.
because in other words, I'm not genuinely interested.
Right.
I'm just trying to ask questions. So you've got to show empathy. It's got to be genuine. And if it's nothing that you're interested in, don't ask questions about that.
Right.
I just heard something about Teddy Roosevelt, all right, the original Rough Rider.
Right.
All right, that what he used to do is, before he had important conversations with people, he would pick up a book or something and study something that he knew they were interested in.
Interesting.
So that he could, before he had the conversation, before he went and talked with them, he could have a conversation with them and talk intelligently about it. He didn't try to come across as I'm the expert in that subject, but just enough to have an intelligent conversation, just enough to ask intriguing questions.
Okay.
All right. And I think that in itself just shows, wow, that's true leadership, to be able to say, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, learn something new that I may never need to know. It may not affect me. It's just a bunch of facts and figures and a little bit of knowledge that might not help me in any other way, but it will help me in having a conversation with somebody who I need to help me in the future.
Right. And it's part of that. It's part of that connection. It's them. If it's something that they're truly passionate about or excited about,
oh my God,
the minute they find you are as well,
yes,
or that you're interested, and you don't, to your point, you don't have to be this all-knowing expert, but you have to be able to speak a little bit intelligently, throw a couple questions, show that you have at least an understanding of the topic.
Right.
People are going to be like, man, he's interested in this too. That's crazy. Like that's awesome that you start building that little bit of trust, that little bit of connection, and then you can just build upon it, and they feel more comfortable talking with you about it.
Yeah. Now, when I was a younger man, and I was first dating Christy, my wife right now, is we dated and I'd wear these like sports shirts, although I'm not a sports guy at all. Don't watch sports. I don't care, but I'd wear these like the White Sox, Cubs shirts, etc. And she'd laugh and she'd go, "What happens when somebody brings that up and starts talking to you about baseball?" I would like, "All right, then I'll have a conversation about baseball."
Right.
Even though I knew very little, what I learned was just becoming a better listener, listening to what people had to say, listening to the questions they asked, the way they asked them, the words that they said. You could tell the feelings they had. And a lot of times I learned to just give them the answers they want to hear by rephrasing what they're asking me. Okay. And turn this around. And I used to have great conversations with people because I went out of my way to make them feel good about what they were passionate about.
Right.
Okay. And I wasn't taking advantage of them as much as what I was doing was just giving them a reason to smile that day.
Right.
Oh, and they walked away. Hey, I just met somebody who really agrees with me, backs up my ideas here. Okay. My favorite was going to a wedding once, on Christy's side of the family. I didn't know anybody at this place other than Christy, right? And I get introduced to a cousin of hers who lives up north. And as I'm just chatting with them, I find out that he collected tractors.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. Like he had a big piece of farmland, a young guy, but he was collecting old, rusted, broken down tractors and was using them as lawn ornaments and stuff like that, which is, to each his own. I think it's cool. I don't think it's that bizarre.
Right.
But anyway, I had the longest conversation with him about tractors because I kept asking him questions and just answering them logically. Like, oh, that's a really good idea. Like, where do you put them? What do you do? What makes and manufacturers do you have? And just continued to talk to him about that, inquiring, getting him to talk. And later, as we walked away, he came up to Christy and she goes, and he was like, "Man, I really like that. Your boyfriend, Marty, he knows a lot about tractors," right? And she was like, "Tractors? How does he know anything about tractors?" Right. But it wasn't, I didn't like pretend I knew anything about tractors. My whole conversation was getting him to talk.
Right. And that's a huge skill, is getting someone to talk about themselves and feel comfortable, because you'll watch, because the minute you seem disinterested, right? People pick up on that. People are so in tune, and it's funny, your daughter, I don't know why I keep saying your wife. It's your daughter, my wife. Yes.
We knew it was somebody's
right.
wife. Yes.
My beautiful wife, Katie. We were actually having a conversation the other day that we both want to work on our eye contact when we're having conversations.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Because it's crazy nowadays, in the days of screens and instant gratification, and even you think how often you're on a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, right?
Yep.
And you might be saying something super important to the group, and you look across all the screens and you can see that not a single person is paying attention.
Correct.
They're fiddling on their phones. They're messaging each other back and forth going, "Did you hear what Marty just said? I can't believe Marty just said that." But it's
you're right.
But it's like that. And you look for it. And there's nothing more refreshing than looking and seeing that one person who's locked into the conversation with you, and they're making eye contact. And that little piece, you're like, okay. And you dial in, you feel that connection,
Yeah. And so that's really interesting. I like this idea. Was when I was in Toastmasters, really big on giving presentations in Toastmasters, really honing my skill, when COVID hit and everything had to switch over to Zoom. And one of the things I agree with you wholeheartedly is you could see the people who cared,
right,
and the people who didn't care, like they just felt they were there. And I see this more and more over the years now, that more and more people are using Zoom meetings.
Right.
Some of the people, you almost want to go, "Why are you in this meeting? You're obviously not paying attention, right? And you're and so you're just here to prove that you're working, whatever the deal is." The toughest part with that is the camera and the screen are in two different places, right?
Right.
And so if I'm looking at the person as they're talking, I'm not necessarily looking at the camera. So sometimes when you're seeing all those people on the screen, it doesn't look like they're looking at you. They're looking somewhere. Right. And I've been in meetings where somebody's like this the entire time. And you're like, are they paying attention? Only to find out later that that's where I was on their screen.
Right.
Okay. So I think one of the secrets in this is you have to look at the person who's talking on the screen, and occasionally just look up at the camera, look at the screen, look up at the camera. And then when you're responding, you have to stare right into the camera.
Right.
You have to respond into the camera so that everyone sees you looking at them. It appears like you're
Yes.
looking directly at them.
Yep.
If you're looking at the screen and responding, there's a misconnect. And you're absolutely right. And I want to say this next generation, but I don't mean generation of a certain age group. I mean this generation of all of us. These years, because we're tied to computers, etc. It's so easy for us to not make eye contact. And
Yeah.
even if I'm talking to you, I pick up my phone and look on my phone for something else. All right, because I'm so like I'm inundated by flashes on my screen, right? That I just need to get 2 seconds of information, 8 seconds of information. You're
Yeah.
talking for a minute. I'm just going to look at my screen and get my dopamine fix,
Right.
of cats juggling or something like that. So it's I like this. I commend the two of you that you recognize that you might have a eye contact problem and that you're going to work on fixing it.
Yeah.
I think everyone should be able to do that or
Oh,
should work on that.
yeah. No, it's interesting. I'm interviewing a couple of people because I've got an opening on my team right now.
Yeah.
And I had two gentlemen, and both of them were qualified in their own ways. Both of them brought a lot to the table. But
Right.
one of
Right.
them, whenever he was answering a question, was looking directly into his camera, and it was,
Okay.
it was so much to the point that I was like, oh man, like I should be looking at my camera more because I'm looking at the screen. I've got my notes
Yeah.
next to me, so I'm taking notes, and
Right. Right.
we're talking back and forth. And I was like, wow, this guy's really making a point. Like it felt like we were having a conversation,
Okay.
even though we were through screens.
Right. Right.
His eye contact, the point he was making to look at the camera and talk to me, I was just like, wow, this is really neat. And the guy, I interviewed another one shortly after him, another intelligent young man,
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of potentials, everything like that. I don't think he looked once. And it was just interesting to me because I felt more drawn to the one that I had
Certainly.
the eye contact with than the other one, even though they both did a great job answering questions. Both were good conversations.
That little thing. Yeah.
You talked to our HR, and I was like, yeah, the one had really great eye contact and all that. And it just really stuck out to me
Gotcha.
because it was kind of out of the norm. So,
Right, right. I think one of the cool things would be is especially if I was interviewing, what I think I would do is I would move my camera to the middle of the screen. Okay. I think they made a device that flips down and is almost transparent.
right.
So the camera is sitting right in front of the person you're talking to. All right. But I would do that. Or, right now the screen is here and then the camera sits on top of the screen. Right.
Right.
And so what you're doing is I'm looking up to talk to you and I'm looking down. And the worst, I'm looking down when you're talking, I'm looking down, right? When you are having eye contact with a person face to face and they are listening to you, would you rather them looking up in the sky as they're listening to you or looking down on the ground? Okay. It seems like I would rather have people listening to me and doing that whole looking up, thinking about it, contemplating what I'm saying, listening as opposed to looking on the ground. Because looking down makes me think they're preoccupied with something
Right.
else. So it would behoove certain people. You like that word behoove?
Yeah, that's nice. That's a tier 3 word.
There you go. There you go. I got it written down. I said, use this at least once today.
Nice.
All right. It would be great for people to learn to put the camera below the screen. Lift the screen up and put the camera lower so that when I'm talking, I'm looking at the screen, I'm making eye contact with you. But then when you're speaking, I'm kind of looking up.
Yeah.
Right. And I just wonder what the dynamics of that would be.
Yeah.
My gut tells me it would probably be a little bit better if I'm looking above you, but some people might say, no, that's the worst thing ever. So we'll
Yeah.
experiment on that, and we'll get back to you in the radio audience later.
That's right.
All right, all right. So this is good. I love this first part about building trust. We're zipping through time, so I want to move a little bit faster. A is adapt to others. The idea here is being flexible and empathetic, and this is really essential for understanding your customer's needs. All right. In other words, it's beyond what's in it for me or it's all about me.
Right.
It's about possibly changing and expanding my opinions to include yours. If you say something I definitely disagree with, it's that whole idea of don't just say, no, you're wrong. Start out with, well, you know what? I could be wrong. In other words, I'm willing to adapt and be flexible. I want to hear more from you. And
Right.
then slowly maybe nudge you in a direction if I don't agree with you, as opposed to just fighting you head to head. So the ability of being able to adapt to others, listen, and this takes that active listening to the next level. All right, it's not just active listening, but then saying, is the information they're sharing? Am I listening to prove them wrong? Am I listening to judge them, or am I listening to learn? Okay.
And hopefully help them.
Yeah.
Hopefully, find that common ground or find that area where you both can come together on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And you think about it. If you can once in a while just say, you know what, I really felt strongly about this one idea. I really thought this was the way to do it. And I'm just going to go out of my way to listen to what other people have to say. And maybe they have a better idea or an opposing view that I never thought of.
Right.
If you can force yourself to be that person, okay, doesn't mean you have to give up on your idea or your mindset. It's just really force yourself to be open to other people's ideas. And I think you'll succeed.
Oh yeah.
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 I got lucky because I got a chance to run an R&D department, research and development department, and I knew right away I didn't have all the ideas. All right, I had a group of people who were really intelligent. They I love the way their minds worked. They were all just a little bit different. Getting to know how they thought was really fun. But we'd have meetings, and then it would be like, let's throw all the ideas on the wall. Here's the problem. Here's our customer's pain. How are we going to solve this? Let's throw out all the ideas. No stupid ideas yet.
Right.
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 Just throw everything on the wall. And then based on what's up there, let's take a look at what was the most maybe cost effective, the most efficient idea. And then could the other ideas that up there spark us towards different areas?
Right.
In other words, start mind mapping. And you might come up with something and be like, it's a stupid idea. But you might say something and we'd all go, yeah, Nate, you're right. That was a stupid idea. But it made me think about this. Okay. So in other words, put everything up there and then start not so much eliminating, like that's a bad idea, but instead highlight the ones that seem the most efficient, the most cost effective, etc., and then see what we can learn from the other things. And you might go, wow, we're spending so much time, like we got 30 ideas trying to solve the problem in this way. Is that the best way to solve it, or are we clouding our judgment by that?
Right.
And instead, let's open up our mind and do something different. Okay. The other thing that I liked was when we came up with an idea, and I don't know where I came up with this. It was in a movie or something. You use one person as the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we talked about that in the show.
Yeah.
Everyone says, yeah, that's a great idea. Now, one person's job is to shoot holes in it.
Yep.
Well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And really, that's their job. And then you switch that job around, so nobody has got that job that one all the time.
Right.
Because nobody wants to be the one who disagrees all the time.
And what's interesting in that is, like, a lot of times, especially with a team, especially if it's either a more veteran team or sometimes you get people who get really stuck in their ways.
Yep.
Right. They want to do it only their way. If you delegate, hey, only one person is allowed to shoot holes in it.
Yep.
And everyone else needs to bring ideas, then you have to force them, because it's so easy to start leading those teams. And I've been in that situation where I'm either helping on one of the other teams or something.
Yep.
And I go into the room and I go, what about this? And it's no. And everybody's got their arms folded. No.
Right.
And so if you eliminate the ability of everybody else to shoot it down,
Yep.
you only designate it to that one person.
Yep.
Everyone else has to obligate it, because that one person's probably going to shoot it down. They might say what everyone in that room was thinking about.
Right.
But the other ones are then forced to dig a little bit deeper, be a little bit more creative, instead of just comfortably sitting back and going, no, that won't work.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you. And I love this, because what that can also do is you can find that when they're saying no, the people who are agreeing can still do the whole yes and idea.
Right.
In other words, that's a good point you just made by disagreeing with us. So if we take the path we're going down and incorporate what you're saying, we can improve this. But you're right. Everyone's got to be positive, except one person gets the role of being negative all the time. Because you hit the nail on the head there, is that it forces everyone to be positive instead of a naysayer. So perfect. So along with that, some Carnegie wisdom here is talk in terms of the other person's interests. Okay. So when we're talking about adapting to others on this one, what you're doing is everything we're talking about, especially in sales, is salespeople sometimes are always doing this. I want to sell you a product. I want to sell you a product. I want to sell you a product. Instead is I want to see if I can solve your problem.
Yep.
I want to see if I can alleviate your pain. And you've got to be able, as a successful salesperson, you've got to be able to say at a certain point in time, maybe I can't.
Yeah.
All right, you have to be able to say that. And it's the same thing with a manager when they're coming, hey, I'm having this problem. This is what's going to happen. All right, I'm really interested in solving your problem. I'm really interested in taking care of your personal problem or the assembly line problem or whatever it is. I'm really interested in it, but we might have to occasionally say, but we can't because there's a greater scenario. The company needs this, and we're only one small part of it. So, although that's a great idea, I can't do that right now. We may be able to do it later. So, it's really cool to be able to talk in terms of the other person's interest as opposed to our own. As a leader, you never want to go, no, it's not a good idea unless it's my idea.
Right.
That'd be the worst way to go.
And what's really interesting is you brought this up a couple times in sales where you have to sometimes take that moment of going, you know what, I can't help you with this situation or with this scenario, right? That maybe the product that I have is not the right one for you, or
Yeah.
maybe the whatever it is. And it's important because when you weigh it on one hand, it's like, okay, you lost the sale, right?
Yep.
You may have lost the sale. However, what's worse, losing the sale, but them leaving that situation confident that if they have something, they're going to come back to you with something else. They are going to keep that relationship strong. They are going to go, okay, Marty was straight up with me that he couldn't help me with this, but they're going to remember that and keep that in their
Yep.
mind the next time they need something. Going, Marty really was straightforward with me. Or you can overpromise in something that you can't deliver on, and they're going to go, they may never use you again. They go, you know what? He really burned me on this. He said he could help me with this. He didn't help me with this. I have no use for him. And so it's like, it goes right to that part of that trust, that building that trust.
Exactly.
And them relying on you.
Yeah, that building trust and adapting to others is they tie in so close. Nate, we're going to take a momentary break, just to talk about some of the other people in the other shows on this radio station and a little bit more. But we will be right back with more information about Dale Carnegie with the ever so knowledgeable Nate Filippelli. So please stay tuned. Welcome back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned in to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness on 98.3 FM. We've been talking today about Dale Carnegie. I'm here with Nate, and we're talking about Dale Carnegie, page 49 of the Legends of Sales here. This book all about the people we really can learn a lot about sales and marketing, etc. So far, we've been talking a little bit about building trust and adapting to others, but I want to take a quick turn here and tell you a little bit about who Dale Carnegie is in case you never heard of the guy. So he was born in 1888. So that's quite a while ago. And I love when we go back like this and we find these people from the past that their ideas, their thoughts, their lessons still are so significant right now, today's day and age. So from 1988, he was a pioneer in self-improvement, salesmanship, and interpersonal skills. His famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, was first published in 1936. Nate, how many copies of that book do you think have been sold since 1936 when it first came out?
Marty, you know me and math. Yeah. How many copies?
Would you say
book?
More than 100?
Oh, I would argue. I would be willing to bet that probably at least 1 million would be my guess.
Over 30 million copies.
That's incredible.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
But it speaks to just such a testament that what's funny is if you read the book and just like a lot of stuff in business, everybody goes, this is just so common sense.
Yes.
And yet nobody does it.
No, because we get caught up in ourselves,
right?
As opposed to the customer. We read through, that makes sense. Yeah. I do that. I do that. Here, in fact, I'm going to tell everyone how good I am at doing that. Right. Yeah. So I love this. Over 30 million copies. He teaches his techniques focus on empathy, trust, and the art of building these meaningful relationships. Right. So that just goes in that whole thing, that whole idea of really paying attention to what people have to say. So I said we were going to kind of rush to the second one. We took our time with this. So we got 3 more, but I really want to touch on some of these highlights to the book. So we're going to kind of combine some of these things. So the B in Bacon today was build trust first. A is adapt to others. C is communicate with empathy, which we understand what we're doing is every time we're talking to our customers, our employees, our vendors, our employers, whoever, our friends, our special loved ones, etc. We always have to talk with empathy. We want to put ourselves in their shoes so they understand where we're coming from. Too often what we want to do is we want to broadcast to the world where I'm coming from, and woe is me, and this is what I'm going through, and this is what I need from you. I need a sale from you. I need a raise from you. Whatever it is, I need a sandwich from you. Whatever
Right.
whatever it is you're fighting for. Too often we do that. We forget the position they're in. Okay. And if we put ourselves in their shoes, we empathize with them, we can turn that around, get them to feel something, get them to feel like sometimes the ideas that we're pitching, as we're nudging them closer to our thoughts. It's oftentimes we get people to feel like it was their idea in the first place. Okay. And
Yeah.
again, it's not tricking them, because they are not going to think it's their idea in the first place if they still don't agree with the idea.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's helping people step away from their emotional attachment to something they said, and helping them free up the idea that it's okay to change my mind. Okay. So that's the communicate with empathy. O is obviously offer value. I cannot, nobody's going to buy from me. Nobody wants to be with me. Nobody wants to listen to me. No one wants to keep me hired if I don't bring any value. So it's really important is to understand what makes me special and the value I bring to the table. Okay. Give honest and sincere appreciation to people that you're talking to all the time on a regular basis, so that they feel connected to you. They want to listen to you, and they're willing to then really pay attention to you and see where you're coming from. And that's how you can show how you offer value. And sometimes the value you offer is just being a great ear,
Right.
a shoulder to lean on, an ear to listen to them. Okay. And then obviously is nurture relationships. Okay. And this whole idea is that it's not, it goes back to the sincerity. It's beyond empathy. It's sincerity as well. I've got to really mean what I'm talking about. I've got to continue along that path. I can't just be a good listener one day and never listen to that person again. When I remember their name, it's got to mean something to me. When I ask them about their dog or their family, it's got to be sincere. If you can't be sincere about it, don't ask them about their dog or their family. Just stick with that. Be sincere. Be true to yourself, who you are. Okay. But the more you can take interest in others, the better off the communication, the relationship will be. And I'll tell you, one of the secrets is the more that you can do that, the more you go out of your way to learn about people, you start finding out that people are really interesting, and you'll start really wanting to listen to them more and more. So, Nate, do you have any history, any story that you can think about, that maybe you started listening to somebody that at first you were like, oh, I don't want to listen to this person. Like this person's got nothing for me. But you forced yourself to do so. And then suddenly you said, hey, you know what? This person is actually giving me some feedback. This person, he or she is worth talking to.
I, that's
a tough one.
It's a tough one, Marty.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I don't want you to call anyone else. You can just go yes,
right,
or no.
There isn't anything that comes to mind just in that sense, but kind of like I said earlier, is when you start listening to someone.
Yep.
Like I found one person in particular, is it wasn't so much what they were saying.
Okay.
Right. But it was the relationship that we formed in just some casual small talk and me taking an interest in them, that
yes,
because I noticed that, hey, when this person, when I communicate with this person and I saw that their performance was better,
right,
because of the communication, then I started making notes and keeping track of things and asking follow-up questions, and either like going back to stuff. So if like a week or two later, I'd be like, hey, you said you were going to do such and such last weekend. How was that?
Gotcha.
And it's like,
right.
I had to make myself interested in it.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't care. I really didn't.
Yeah.
But what I did care was building the connection and
Yeah.
getting the results that I was getting by forming this connection with this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so because of that, I actually did start to care, just in the sense of knowing them a little bit better and wanting to be able to have that conversation with them.
Gotcha. I think that oftentimes what happens is what we also love in talking to people, and they're talking about something maybe we don't genuinely care about, but we can definitely care about or get something out of their excitement and their enthusiasm. If somebody started talking to me about hot air ballooning, let's say, All right. Nothing against hot air ballooning. I've never done it. I don't know anyone who's done it. I don't know if I would do it. It's not in my top 10 list. But if somebody was talking about it and they were really energetic and enthusiastic about it, I would find myself asking more inquisitive questions. Well, tell me more about this. What is that made out of? Like, how powerful is it? How much fuel do you bring to heat that thing up? Like, what's the highest you can go? What's it made of, etc. I would ask more questions depending on their level of excitement. And I think that's really important because it goes along with what I've always talked about is that shine, sharpen, and share. We should always be sharpening our skills. We should always be improving ourselves. And the way we do that is we have to keep learning. So the more we can pick somebody's brain on another topic that maybe we'd never thought was that interesting, that
Right.
important, that's a cool thing to do. We can end up growing. So, Nate, I want to jump in here. I kind of rushed through that, but if there's anything else you wanted to add to those, we'll just jump in at any point in time. But I wanted to jump into this whole some tidbits from the book, how to make friends and influence people, and it's kind of broken down into 4 sections here. And it's like fundamental techniques in handling people is one part of the book. Then it was the 6 ways to make people like you. All right. How to win people to your way of thinking. And then finally, how to be a leader, how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. All right. So it's this step by step. So it starts out with how we should handle people. And the first thing is we shouldn't be the type of person to known to be critical. So we
Right.
don't criticize, we don't condemn, we don't complain. All right. Because we know there's plenty of people we know that complain. Right. And those are the people you're like, "Oh, here he is again." Like, I wanna avoid this person.
Right.
It's the same with people who brag all the time. You're like, "I don't need to spend time with that person," right?
Yep.
I just need some time away from that person. So don't be the type of person who criticizes, no condemning, no complaining, all right? Give honest and sincere appreciation. So anything you talk to me about something that I don't know anything about, I'm gonna be honest and sincere about it.
Right.
And I'm going to, and I have learned, and I think everyone should. I want to learn more how I can learn. Okay,
Right.
so if you're going to teach me something, I want to learn from you. All right, and I want to dig into this more. And I'm going to ask you inquisitive questions. Tell me more about that. Like I said about the hot air balloon. Like I talked with the guy about tractors. It's the same thing. Ask enough questions so I can so I can find something that's of interest to me.
Right.
Okay. And one of the cool things is that let's say uh let's say you bring up a subject that I'm like, I'm not really that crazy interested in that. I can find a side conversation that connects us to that. Okay. Let's just say you started talking about hockey, right? And I'm like, I don't really want to talk about hockey so much, but maybe I want to talk about Canada. So I might go, so have you ever been to Canada? Have you ever skated in Canada? Would you ever play hockey in Canada? Would you like to go to Canada to play hockey? Maybe I would just do something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I would talk about how sticks are made, the evolution of sticks, whatever the deal is. How about the idea of the correlation of all net sports,
Right.
like hockey, basketball,
Soccer.
etc. And whatever the deal is, I'm going to find some other correlation so that you feel like, hey, I'm talking about what's important to me, and I'm finding something that I might find some appreciation in,
Yeah.
as opposed to pretending to really like what the first person's talking. So it's got to be sincere. And so one of the best ways is to steer the conversation, nudge the conversation to something that both of you will appreciate.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the be honest and sincere appreciation. The next is be eager and excited about their needs. Okay, so if you're saying I'm looking to do this, I would really like to do this. Let's say you've got an employee go, man, I would love to buy a house or I'd like to buy a new car. Get excited about that. Don't just go, oh yeah, new car. Yeah, I'd like a new car too. I just bought a new car. Blah 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 blah. He doesn't care about that. He
No.
wants a new car or she wants a new car. So instead, get excited. Like, what are you looking for? What kind of car do you want? Are you looking for a car, a truck, a van? What's the deal here? What are you thinking? What make? What do you do? Get excited about that so they're pumped up about it. And then you follow that up with, let's see how I can help you realize your dream. Okay. Listen, I'm not talking about me. I want to hear about you. What's your dream? How can I help you get there? So if it's an employee, how can I help you? You want a new car? Let's see what we can do with that. Like what do you need to do to get that? I can't necessarily give you a raise right now, but let's see what we can end up doing. Maybe I can throw some overtime your way. Maybe we can do something else. Whatever it is, let's see what I can do. But I'm genuinely excited about what you want out of this. And then, so even if you can't give them the thing that they wanted, that raise or whatever, at least they can feel like you're on their side and you can see what they're going through. Okay.
Yeah.
So think about that. It just really quick. You ever think about a point in your life where you had a boss who you really felt was like that, who was excited about you? Like you came in, I got to talk to you about this weekend. This was fantastic. And this was maybe a boss, or maybe it's a person. Maybe it's someone a relative, a friend, whatever, who is you just love talking to because they're always genuinely interested in what you have to say.
Yep. No, the former owner of the company that I worked for, we both shared an affinity for pickup trucks and everything of that sense. And
Nice.
so it was really cool to always, he was always looking at trucks, and I was always looking at pickup trucks and talking through stuff, or even like paint schemes on semis or just vehicles in general. And so we would get excited about things and bounce ideas across each other and just all that sort of thing. And so I was just really look forward to talking with him and just kind of having that connection. And it was never work related. It was never anything like that, but it was just like that bond was there.
It was great relationship built. That's cool. That's exactly what you want. In fact, I always say there are two guys I know who over time that I've realized were really great listeners. They're better listeners than talkers. And both of them really successful in their own ways. And this one guy is Chris Waters. And I was just talking to him the other day and I was telling him how great a listener he is. Like he starts asking me questions and before you know it, I'm getting psyched because I'm talking about myself. And I'm talking about myself more than I usually do.
Right.
Okay. And this other guy, Brian Vetter. Okay. Same guy. He looks, no matter what I say, I might go, yeah, so I spilled some yellow ink. And he'd go, wow, yellow ink? Right? That whole thing where you're like, oh my God, yeah. And he is excited. Both of them excited to hear the whole story. They want to hear more. And it makes you feel immediately connected to them. Like you want to go out of your way to talk to them.
Right.
And it's really cool because then when you do hear what they do, you immediately like, Chris Waters is a marketing guy. And I'll tell you, if I had a marketing question, he's the guy I'm going to call and talk to. Right. Brian Vetter owns an office furniture place. Right. They do installation. Well, anyone ever mentions furniture, he's the first name on my out of my tongue, out of my mouth. So it's really important to be the type of person that be a great listener and really dig into what other people have to say. Right.
Yeah, it's all about that connection.
Yeah. But it's got to be genuine.
Right. And that's what's so funny is like, especially in the corporate world, I've noticed because my role has kind of changed and I've grown and I've entered different circles and such. And there's so much fakeness. There's so much.
God, yeah.
The LinkedIn posts and everybody congratulating each other, or the conference calls where everybody's telling each other what a good job they did.
Right.
And then everybody hangs up the call and goes that, these boneheads. And so it's that when you have those people and a compliment from them or a, kind of a shout out, it just means a little bit more because they are being genuine about it. You're like, man, I would follow that person anywhere.
Right.
That means something for me. I would refer that person anywhere.
There you go.
It's that genuine piece.
And
to
we
it.
all as humans, we know what's genuine, what's fake.
Right.
I mean, we can
right
be
away.
fooled every once in a while, but for the most part, we really know what's genuine, what's fake. Right. So with this here's the deep part. Here's the 6 ways, according to Dale Carnegie, to make people like you. Okay,
I'm ready.
This is it. So number 1, I'm going to repeat this, is become genuinely interested in other people. So you sit down next to somebody at a bar, start talking to him, find out what that guy does for a living, what he does for leisure, whatever it is, and be genuinely interested. Be that type of person. I could learn from you. Okay. The next, really simple, smile. Okay. There's plenty of people that it's just, you always look at them and they got that, resting, not so smiley face.
Right.
Okay? And those other people are like, oh, I'm going to stay away from that person. Right. So just learn to smile, feel it in your cheeks. Okay. Practice smiling in a mirror. All right. Third is remember that person's name.
It's huge.
Oh my God. People love hearing their name. Right. And I'm not the best at that. And I keep practicing that. And so what I learned, which is the secret, is when you get introduced, say that person's name at least 2 or 3 times right away.
Yeah.
So Nate, that's a cool name. Is Nate short for anything or is it just Nate? Have you always been called Nate? Whatever it is. I know a Nate blah, blah, blah. Okay. Just so I say it enough so I'm remembering it and you love the fact that I've acknowledged your name.
Right.
Okay. The worst thing is that I turn around, come back going, oh, I forgot already.
Had that happen to me today. We had a new employee start in
Yeah.
one of the other departments. And gun to my head, I couldn't tell you what their name is right now. And
Right.
I was
Right.
sitting there, and they swung by my office later, and I was thinking, man, this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah,
I gotta figure this out quick.
Right, right. So you got to come up with some way to link it together. So something that a physical characteristic or that person reminds you of someone else you know by that same name. Okay. So far it's become genuinely interested, smile, remember the person's name. 4 is obviously be a good listener, and that's the deep listening.
Yeah.
All right. It's not just the surface listening. It's really paying attention. Talk in terms of their interests is number 5. Okay. So you're always talking about what's best for them, what's in it for them. You want to help them fulfill their goals. That's the direction. So it's not just about I'm interested in what you like to do, but I also want to help you succeed. Okay. And then lastly is make the other person feel important.
Yeah.
Bam. Mary Kay's all over this. She stole this stuff from Dale Carnegie.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So that's the 6 ways to make people like you. And so what we do with that now is how do we take that and we win people, or how do we get people to come over to our way of thinking? All right. So now we people like us. We know how to handle people. We're good. People trust us. They want to hang with us. They're ready to listen to us. So some of the ways we do this is finding common ground. Okay. And the more we can find common ground, that really solidifies trust and it gives you the ability to establish some type of credibility. Okay. The more that we have in common, the more I can talk about something, whether it's something you need or it's just something you're interested in. Just like we talked about earlier, Teddy Roosevelt, how we would read a book. So we find common ground. Now I'm a little bit knowledgeable on something that's really important to you. Okay. Next is show respect for other people's opinions.
That's a big one. And that's a tough one.
And that's a really tough one.
Especially because people have some dumb opinions.
Yes, yes. So you just have to remember that, you just have to have respect for their opinion. And it's really neat. I'm trying to remember. I heard a quote just earlier today about this idea that sometimes when we disagree with people, we immediately think they're evil or they're bad, they're negative.
Yep.
And sometimes you have to say, maybe they're ignorant to the facts.
Right.
Okay. Maybe that's all that it comes down to. Maybe they don't have all the facts. So because of that, they feel this way. And so because of the few facts that they have, they feel so strongly because they have no other argument. So you have to have respect for the way they feel because you don't know the evidence that they're bringing to the table. And immediately, if you can believe, and can you believe that some people are ignorant to all the facts?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's very possible that we are ignorant to all the facts.
Absolutely.
Right. And so you have to be able to open yourself to that and say, oh, I could be wrong. Right. So it's important to respect other people's opinions. Right. And if during this conversation you find out that you're wrong, you have to be able to admit it very quickly. Admit that you're wrong faster than they tell you you're wrong. Go, oh, you know what? I didn't think of it that way. Wow, I could be wrong. I've been thinking about it this way all the time. Right? Be able to do that because, wow, the more you can do that, then suddenly they're like, wow, this person's willing to admit they're wrong. Maybe that other person, the other person is willing to admit it too.
Right.
You've become vulnerable in front of them. You've shown it's okay. It's a safe place for us to have this type of a conversation.
Yep. And you can get locked into conversations where people are so sure that they're right. And if there is not that space to admit that you're wrong or that ability to be vulnerable, you're just never going to come to a conclusion or come to a common ground.
Not at all. Not at all. Because we're always going to be fighting for it. It'll be, if you don't admit you're wrong, then that means I'm losing this argument and I'm going to continue to try to win the next argument.
Right.
No matter what it is. All right. So obviously following that is begin in a friendly way. It's all got to be friendly. It can't be like a rivalry.
Right.
Try to become friends early on and connect like that. So we see what's going on. We're being positive. And hopefully what we're trying to do is, if not find common ground, let's say you and I disagree on something. I'd say at the end of this argument, we may not agree, But, I really want to make sure we part as friends. So maybe we'll find some common ground, or at least we will find respect for each other's opinion. That's ideally what we want. Okay. It's not my job to convince you to change your mind. Okay. My job is to maybe just inform you and help you make a good decision if I'm selling.
Yep.
I'm selling to you.
And what's interesting too is when you're having those disagreements, you're having those conversations. If the other person starts ramping up or starts throwing out generalities, it's another
It's a
tier
long
3
one.
word
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
exactly. Too many syllables.
Is understanding how to let them finish and have your counterpoint not be defensive,
Yep.
but have it be in a way where you make them feel heard. You acknowledge that that's their opinion or that's their belief, and then
Yep.
going, okay, I understand that that's how you feel, but kind of leading them into realizing they are talking in that way. Like,
Right.
I remember me and it was a couple weeks ago. Me and one of the other ops managers had a meeting with one of our support teams, and you could tell there was some frustration on both sides. And one of the members of the support team just kept throwing things out, and you could tell. And I looked at the other ops manager, and he and I just kind of let him vent, and then we just kind of started in a very neutral way to not put him on the defensive, kind of poking holes in his statements
Yep.
and going,
Yep.
well, yeah, I mean, is that really always the case? Is that actually what's going on, or is there something deeper? And
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
end of it, we were all able to come together on common ground with an idea and a solution. But walking out of that, I just told the other ops manager, "Hey, I really appreciate you not kind of ramping up and meeting his level because we would have immediately lost the conversation. We might as well have just walked away
Yeah. There
rather
you go.
than being able to come together on an idea."
Okay. So getting back to this, because now we're looking, we only got a couple minutes left real quickly. So this is, as we're going back to this, is being the legends of sales. Some of the stuff that we also want to do is during this conversation, if I'm trying to get people to come across to my way of thinking, aside from all of this, agreeing with them, trying to show them some vulnerability, etc. What I want to do is I want them to start saying yes right away. I
Yeah.
want to ask them small questions, little things that I can get them to agree on so that it's easier for them to say yes later on. I want to talk. I want to get that other person talking as much as possible. I want to be the one who's a little more quiet and listening. All right. I want to be honest about seeing other person's point of mind or a point of view. I'm sorry. So I want to do this with sincerity and honesty. I want to talk about being sympathetic towards their ideas. I want to try to pitch the idea in a way that they think it's their idea, because sometimes it's really hard even if they get to that point where they're like, yeah, I want to do this, but I came here saying I wasn't going to do this.
Right.
It's
Right.
really hard for them to make that leap.
Yeah.
So it's so much easier to kind of put it in. So, I might say, so what you're saying, Nate, is that uh, if I showed you the right car, you would buy today, right? And just saying something like that, and you're like, yeah, I guess I could. Suddenly, it becomes your idea that I'm going to sell you a car today.
Right.
Okay, so that's what's really important. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff. I really insist. I really tell people, go out of your way and find this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. There's all kinds of other stuff. We could have gone easily another hour because I found myself rushing through some of this stuff. So with the last bit of time here, Nate, what's your big takeaway from today?
It's going to be my big takeaway. I think the entire time
every week,
every time we run
this
this series, but it's making people feel important because it's that trust, it's that communication, it's meeting them in the middle, it's actively listening. It is the very essence of good conversation and sales. You have to win them over, and you have to do it in a genuine way.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. And I'm gonna go with this, is that my big takeaway today is it's all obvious. Okay. And sometimes the most obvious ways to act, the most obvious things we should do, escape us for one reason or another. Right. And what we do is we think, I know better than this. So when I say it's obvious, I want us to always put ourselves in the shoes of our customer, put
Yeah.
ourselves in the shoes of our boss, our employee, our spouse, whatever it is, whenever we're having these conversations and you're trying to win friends and influence people, trying to nudge them in our direction, put yourself in their shoes. What would they want out of this? And that's the first thing you can learn. And just everything else is just be a good person forward with this. So thank you very much for tuning in to another great episode of Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. The recording will be on Bacon Bits with Master Happiness later this week anywhere you listen to podcasts. All right. And next week, we'll be talking with a woman from Sinorama in Grays Lake. The name of the show next week will be Signs of Happiness. So I'm really looking forward to that. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. And let's just say goodbye to this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Bye bye,
everybody.
everybody.